Hello and welcome everybody. I hope the screen is visible and you can hear me. All right. So let's begin. Okay, let me just select a color. All right, yeah. So basically, I am Sohail and I am a senior technical trainer. Okay, with PyNet Labs. So we are an organization. I'll let you know what we are and why. Okay, so I'm a senior technical trainer with PyNet Labs, and I look into high-level courses, but also, of course, I look into CCNA, and I also look into higher-level courses, CCNP, that's N4. There is a course which is called as NRC. Trust me, you'll know about these courses after our discussion today. Okay, no worries. I do understand right now this will not make sense to you. And I also look into CCNP security. Okay, that's a so basically these are levels. Anyway, you will come to know about them a little later on. And yeah, I also look into some firewalls other than Cisco, which is like Palo Alto and stuff. Okay. Anyway, you'll come to know about these in a while, even if you don't really connect with these things at the moment. So yes, today, Thursday, Feb 27, we have joined here to discuss a very interesting thing and something that particularly you students would certainly be, uh, you know, uh, you should have the information of, honestly, going forth, like in your careers, you should certainly know these things. Anyway, it'll make sense in time, in a while. So, like I said, we are PyNet Labs. Okay, we belong to this organization, PyNet Labs. So we are basically a training company. Okay, we are an instructor-based live training company. So, like this online session that we have our courses. Okay, about various things. So we deal with a lot of domains. Okay, we have network engineering. Okay, which is like the basis of our everything, literally, as you will understand also later on in the course. But then we also look into high level stuff like network security. You have automation experts, okay, because automation now is literally like a very key thing in literally everything that you come across. You have cybersecurity. Okay, cybersecurity. So yes, I do understand that people are confused about these things, uh, and you will understand more of it a little later in the course. But for now, okay, network security deals with more of devices. Okay, like particular devices in your ecosystem. Okay, meaning like firewalls and stuff. Again, if they don't make sense to you right now, it will in a moment. Cybersecurity, on the other hand, deals with the security of your entire IT ecosystem. Okay, so meaning not only devices, but your entire apps and maybe all that you use in your system, maybe cloud stuff and like all those things. And we also look into cloud based like things like Azure and stuff. Okay, so quite a lot of things that we look into. Now, fine, all of that is great and good. Why are we here today? Okay, so networking industry is what we are aiming to understand. Okay, the networking industry is a very lucrative industry for a number of reasons. Okay, and we'll understand the entire point of why do you, why do you want to even think about this industry. So here, what we are here to like understand is what is this industry about. Okay, like why do we even care, and why do we want to join this industry, and is it beneficial, and like all those things. How can you be a part of it? And like I said, like what does it make up, like, to be a part of the networking industry, and like why should you be like bothered about it. Okay, so we'll understand the why, what, and how about the networking industry. Okay. So let's start with the why. Okay. So like why, like I said, why should we bother? Okay. As a student and who's gonna be maybe in the future some engineer, some working professional, maybe doing something. Why should you go ahead and choose the networking industry as a whole anyway. Okay. So let's understand, right? So basically, we want to understand what the importance of networking is. Now, if I would certainly be not be wrong if I said the networking industry is the backbone of the entire world, right? And this is not an exaggeration, by the way, as you will come to know in later on the course. But anyway, imagine all these things that you use. Okay, for example, right now we are using Zoom. Okay, but we could have possibly chosen Meet. Okay, Google Meet maybe. Uh, if not that, we could have been on Microsoft Teams. Okay, something like that. So all of these are like professional communication tools, like what we are using right now. But even if not that, you could be using, like apps like Instagram and WhatsApp and Facebook. Yeah, fine. I mean, like all of these are apps, different kinds of app, different for different things. Okay, but what is enabling them to work? Okay, and uh, what is essentially is making them work is the internet behind all of this, right? Okay, great. So what's the internet? Okay, internet is the network of networks, right? Essentially, it is the network that is making all of this work. If it wasn't the network that you have right now, with its bandwidth and with its speed and the way that it works, this is simply not achievable, right? Like, for example, let's say you have your Instagram app, okay, and you, of course, use it for various purposes. Imagine your network in your home, for example, being blacked out. What good is your app now? What good is your phone even right now? Everybody knows without internet and without networks, it is just like a piece of brick, right? Your phone is a piece of brick, it is a complete dead device. What good is your devices like laptops and PCs? I mean, mostly you use it. I mean, of course, you could use it for other productivity purposes, but the majority of things that you do right now has to do has to do with the internet. Sorry, right? So uh, all these apps, okay, whatever you use, and it's not only restricted to this. And like whatever you do right now, maybe you want to book something on Ola, Uber, I don't know, right? Maybe you want to do that. Maybe you want to reach somewhere. Maybe you want to watch something for entertainment, okay, be it Prime Video, maybe Netflix, or maybe you want to buy something off, Amazon, or maybe you want to order something to eat. Literally all of our lives have been changed, right? All of a sudden, uh, it is not because of the app development, right? You could still make apps in the like some years ago as well. That is not a problem, right? You still had apps. What is making all of this possible and so flawlessly connected is because you have connectivity, right? uh, you still have apps, right? For example, okay, let's say let's imagine you are a person who has a phone and you have all these apps installed. Fine. Let's say you suddenly move to some rural area. Okay. Like some, I don't know, maybe some mountainous area. You go for a hike or something. You have no network there. What good are these apps? Nothing, right? Absolutely nothing. So the point being proved here is that, of course, it is the networks, right? The networks and the way that they work is because of those that you are able to take benefit of all of these things, all of the digital revolution that you see around you. Okay, like whatever it is, cloud and Facebook and whatever that you enjoy yourselves on, it's because of the networking in the background. So like we started off the conversation earlier, it is not wrong that I say, in fact, nothing more can be true about this. Networking is the backbone of our industry, right? The entire, like the digital revolution that you see, networking is the background, the basis, the backbone of everything that is happening. Now, when I say this, people do assume that we kind of live in some, epics of the technology. Okay, like, yeah, like people say, okay, fine, like this is the apex. Okay, like, that is what it is. Okay, and that's absolutely not true. Technology is always evolving. Okay, technology is always evolving. It is always taking forward. So, for example, right now, I mean, of course, you can see the structure here, and it has grown over time, and like it is all those. Now you have, of course, PCs, and PCs have been revolutionized into smartphones, and you kind of put your stuff on the cloud. I mean, this, even the cloud thing is not completely there. We still kind of do a lot of things on our smartphone. Okay, what I mean to say is, some years ago, for example, me, okay, like when I entered this industry, networks weren't as good. browsing videos, for example, was not a very common thing. Okay, you can't have not just used like YouTube like you use it today. Okay, like buffering a video was a big thing. Okay, like some years ago. Now this is not the case right now. Of course, we don't even like store any videos and music on our phone, right? We of course don't do that now. We of course don't do that right now. We want to hear music. Yeah, we use the network. Okay, like it's on the internet. You want to watch like a video, it's there on YouTube or Netflix or whatever. Back in the day, of course, I needed a very big hard drive on my like let's say PC, and I stored all my photographs, and I stored all my videos, and I stored all my music there, and I had to be very careful with this hard drive so that it was safe. If I lost this hard drive for some reason, I would lose all my data. Back in the day, it was like so. But nowadays, what do you do? Do you do all of these things? No, right? You have possibly like a cloud thing connected. Okay. For example, like the Google Cloud. Now, you would store, let's say, all your important files on the Google Drive. Just an example, but it could be so many things. Might as well, this could be Facebook, right? Where you store all your images and videos or your personal stuff on the Facebook server, right? You don't really care about its maintenance or where do you want to store them and which folder and whatnot. Yeah, maybe some very high level abstraction, but that is about it, right? You don't like really look into the minute details. That is something that is taken care of by Google and Facebook at their end. They are engineers to it, right? But yeah, like cloud is still moving on. For example, very recently you had game streaming, right? For example, like usually what you have is like you have like you had to install games, and of course you had to have very good hardware, okay, very excellent hardware to play games and like stuff. Right now, what you can do is you have softwares from NVIDIA and like stuff, and you can literally stream games. Okay, even if your device is not does not have very capable hardware, you can still stream games. So that is still entirely not a very common thing. This is still happening. And later on, you could have IoT. Okay, IoT is basically Internet of Things, where what they're planning is to literally have everything on the internet. Okay, that is why it is called as the Internet of Things. Internet of Things basically means literally everything is connected to the internet. Now, you might feel as if today that is the case. That actually is not the case. Okay, like you have very limited devices connected to the internet. Basically, it is your smartphone and maybe your PC. Okay, and that too, like it's not always okay, right? So with IoT, you literally have everything on the internet. Okay, maybe even your like refrigerators, and maybe your cars, and maybe your ceiling fan. I don't know, maybe like your television sets, and maybe your lights at your home. Everything is smart. Everything is generating data, and everything is connected to the internet, and all this. But again, what is the basis, right? Internet again, networks of networks. Somebody has to manage it. Somebody has to design it. Somebody has to work with it so that this entire thing functions, and so on and so forth. Of course, probably maybe in the future, for example with us, for example, majority of our classes are like online and stuff nowadays, and that is the norm, like which has been for a number of things after the like the COVID pandemic, right? Which had been earlier, and there was a lot of digitization. Similarly, maybe in the future, even like you see companies like Meta, deploying the metaverse, kind of, okay, did not like take through as it was planned, but yeah, possibly that is the future, right? Maybe in the future you have workspaces and colleges maybe as a virtual environment, because that would save a lot of space, certainly. Okay, it will bring down a lot of costs, and it will be a much more fun and engaging way to maybe be in a certain place. Okay, so maybe like the VR stuff and AR stuff is still like it is, maybe it is supposed to be there. I don't know. Okay, like in the future, who knows what will go in the future. But as you can see, there are a lot of things that can be there. Okay, like it's not the apex of technology that we are in right now for sure. Okay, maybe we are like down the line, maybe 5 or 10 years down the line, all of us are wearing some VR goggles and glasses or something, and maybe it's a whole different world. Maybe smartphone is not the thing, not the major thing that you have. For example, now you have smartwatches, right? So things change. Things, of course, keep on changing, and everything needs to be connected. That's the entire point. Unless they are connected through networks, none of this makes sense. So that's something that should be there. Okay. Okay. So all of that being said and done, right? So yeah, we know now, okay, for example, that is what networking is. Networking is an industry. It is like the silent heroes in the background that makes everything work. That is what is said about network engineers, by the way. Okay, these are like silent heroes that make the entire world run as it is running right now. Right, for example, you and I are communicating right now. It is because of our networks at our end and the internet as a whole. Yeah, we don't know, right, who's making that run. I don't know certain engineer who's like designed this and who's working on it right now and maintaining it. I don't know. Okay, but yeah, those are our silent heroes that are actually making all of this possible. Okay, that being said, like what is networking all about? Okay, of course, networking can be a lot of things, and there are many layers to this. Okay, there are so many layers and complexities to it. We'll try to simplify it in this class for you. Okay, we will try our best to make it as simple. So you take abstraction of it, let's say, from this class today. Okay, so all in all, basically what happens is, let's say you have a device. Okay, and maybe your colleagues have some device, or maybe your friends have some device, and basically they are connected together in something which is called as a LAN at your end. So LAN is a very common term that you see basically, and what that indicates is local area network. Okay, I can give you an analogy for this. For example, let's say you're sitting in your home, and at your home there is a LAN. Okay, LAN network, local area network, meaning this is a very local thing for you. Now, that could be your PC, okay, and your phones and maybe some tablets connected together using some uh, wireless access point, maybe. Okay. Again, we'll discuss the devices part in a while, but all of these are like connected to that device, and this forms your basically LAN. Okay, like they have interconnectivity, and later on, because of this device, you are able to connect to the larger network outside, which is the internet. So this is what you can see in the image as well. So you have some devices, and generally what happens is you want to connect yourself with the larger internet, okay, which is the internet of internet, or like the network of network, sorry. And from there you possibly want to reach out to some specific servers. Okay, now in those some cases it might be Microsoft servers, and maybe Google servers or Facebook servers. And these servers, okay, they will provide you with the respective content. Maybe you wanted to watch YouTube. Okay, maybe some guy wanted to do Facebook, or maybe like something and so forth. Okay, so these servers basically then send out data using the network of networks, and of course you receive the same. Okay, that's a very simplified simplification of the network, by the way. Okay, fine. So if that's the case, what are we actually doing, and how is all of this kind of working? Okay, like because what we saw in the previous diagram was an oversimplification of the entire process. See, what makes all of this possible is a bunch of devices. Okay, generally you would have a modem, an NIC, something called as a repeater, maybe a hub. Uh, not most of the time. Hub is like a kind of a obsolete thing right now, but it's still there. You have switch, you have router, and you have the gateway. Okay, let's break them down and let's understand what this is. Okay, so modem, and of course you kind of hear the word modem like ever so much with with stuff with the internet and like stuff. So what is this all about? So modem actually is a coined term, and it is made up of two parts. So basically you have modem, which is modulator and demodulator. Okay, so I'll give you a very a very good example from back in the day. For example, you had uh, you know you had phone lines. Okay, you had phone lines, and they were already there. Okay, so you had phone lines which were connecting to these towers, and you had already phone lines in place. Now when the internet, for example, came in, okay, you had internet basically coming in, and these digital devices, right? So basically I mean, it made no sense to lay down a whole different network for these things, because you already had phone lines. But the problem with phone lines was that it uses analog signals, whereas your digital devices, they of course use the digital signals. Now imagine having two digital signals at the end, and you have the analog signal being used in the middle. Now, so like this is a mismatch, right? So what you need is something like a modem, Now modem basically what it does is at one end, okay, so on the left hand side, for example, it converts these digital signals to analog signals so that they can travel over the uh, phone lines. And on the other end, it demodulates. So, for example, after traveling the phone lines, you want to convert it back to digital signals on the other side. Okay, so that is basically like what a modem generally is. And depending on the architecture and the network type, you may or may not use it depending on your architecture and the topology of your networks and like all devices that go in. Okay, so that's modem that you hear. What is NIC? NIC is basically the network interface card. Okay, and network interface card, although in this diagram, as you see, is a separate kind of a device. So basically, this is a card, and when I say card, it means like a chip. Okay, it's like a chip that you can put in your desktops. Now, with this kind of thing, of course, what we are specifically talking about is desktops. Of course, you cannot get an NIC and you cannot install it on your uh, phone, for example. Okay, of course, that is not possible. Your phone is a pre-built device. In like most cases, we do not have modular phones as of now. But yeah, possibly maybe in the future, but not certainly not now. Okay. Generally, however, because you need the network and you need internet and like all those things, the NIC or the network interface card is already there on your devices. Okay, so be it your desktops or maybe your laptops or maybe your phones, everything has NIC. Now, what is the NIC? NIC is the actual device that helps you connect to the network. Okay, and depending on what kind of NIC you use, you will be able to connect to the network accordingly. So, for example, as you can see, I can see this. I hope you can also. You can see that there's a LAN port over here. Okay, or an Ethernet port as it is called. I can connect a cable here, meaning this is a wired Ethernet thing, and the port that you see will be out of the box. Okay, like it will be at the edge of the device, the desktop PC, where you can plug in the cable. Now, NICs, however, you don't need to like really install it nowadays. It is already there, pre-built on your devices, so that you can connect. Now, depending on the laptop, depending on your phone, you would have some wireless NICs built in it, which help you connect with Wi-Fi and things. So NIC is like a network interface card, and it helps you connect to the network at large. If you don't have this, of course, you will not be able to connect to the network in any way. Okay. Okay. Now, repeater. Okay. Now, what is a repeater? Repeater is basically a simple way to understand is this. This is the booster. This is the booster device, and basically what it does is it boosts signals. Okay, so for example, let's say you built a very small network. Okay, to make this understand for you, what I'll do is I'll make a very simple network. You have two devices, maybe like on one side you and the other side your friend, and let's say you connected a cable. This, of course, is a very simple network. Of course, it will work, right? The problem is, let's say this friend of yours, device B, okay, they decided to move further away. Okay, now of course the network was initially working. Okay, I mean like everybody's happy. Okay, but then your device B sort of moved away. Okay, and that extended the length of the cable. Now suddenly, what your friend saw was that the communication is no longer happening. Okay, the communication is like no longer happening. So what's going on here? So basically, what's going on here is every cable type has a segment length, meaning beyond the segment length, the signal starts degrading. Okay, because of course we live in a real world and there is no free energy. Okay, whatever energy you send, of course, is eaten up by the cable in terms of resistance, and the signal strength goes on reducing, right, until I mean it finally fades away. So in this case, B cannot receive your signals. That is a problem. Okay, what are you supposed to do then? Okay, what you can do is you can deploy a device which is a repeater. Okay, so let's assume that this is a repeater. And the repeater, what it will do is, as the name suggests, it will repeat the signal. Okay, like it will boost it and it will send it farther away. So basically, it is a booster. It extends your network. It extends your network. Okay, right. So then you have hub. Okay, like what is a hub? So basically, a hub is uh, a centralized device. Okay, so for example, the device that the network that you see here, okay, with the repeater, of course, it is just like a one-to-one device, and it is not a very like a very good network sort of. Okay, like because they're just uh, like two device, right? Now, what you can do is, I mean, let's say if you want to connect multiple devices together, okay, what you can do is you can have like a centralized networking device, and you can then plug in ever so many devices to it. Okay, for example, imagine it to be your home or your office or like stuff, but then you need this centralized networking component. Okay, so what can this be? In one case, it could be the hub. In other cases, it could be the switch. By the way, they look very similar. Okay, and in no way can you just look at the device and say it's a hub or a switch, but the working is different. Okay, so like how is the hub and the switch different? So hub is basically a centralized device, but it is kind of a dumb device. Okay, it is a dumb device, and when I say dumb, it is in the sense that it doesn't really understand who's connected to which of its ports. Okay, so for example, this is the hub, and you have so many ports on it, and you have connected on each port a certain device. The thing is, hub cannot keep a track of who's connected where, and essentially it cannot also even do unicasting. Unicasting is basically like sending one communication, like a piece of communication from one device directly to the other. That is unfortunately not something that you can do with the hub. In fact, it is all that it is capable of doing is broadcasting. Broadcasting means like sending it to everybody. So of course, as you can imagine, that is not a very good thing. So technically, it is not a very efficient device. Okay, it cannot unicast. Hence, it is not very secure. It is not very efficient because it is broadcasting. Okay, so what that means is, let's say if I have a device B, and if it wants to reach some device B, technically it is incapable of doing that. What it can only do is broadcast, and when these devices receive the communication themselves, they'll see whether it is meant for them. If it is meant for them, it will receive it, else it will discard it. So it's a very inefficient process, by the way. Okay, then if that is the case, is there a better device? So yes, there is a better device, by the way, and that is essentially called as a switch. Okay, so this is a switch here. It is also a centralized networking component, and you can like connect all your devices, to the switch. But the switch is a very efficient device. Okay, the entire point of using a switch is that it is a very efficient device. It is a secure device, and the reason for that is it is a smart device. Now, when I say smart, what it means is that it has a table inside, okay, like in memory, and it can keep a track of who's connected where. Meaning, let's say if it has 1, 2, 3 ports, it knows on which port which device is connected. For example, let's say on port number 0 you have the like PCA, on port number 1 you have PCB, and so on and so forth. It can keep a track, and whenever somebody wants to send information or packet to that particular device, it can do so. Okay, unlike a hub, it does not broadcast. What it is completely capable of is unicasting. So all of these things put together makes switch a very robust part of any network. Okay, so you will always find switches, and we have always had switches in the networks. Now, please do remember, whether it is the hub or the switch, okay, they are always used on single networks. Okay, meaning they are supposed to be used in a local network, and whether it is the hub or the switch, they are used for single networks. Now, single network and multiple network actually it deals with IP addresses, and honestly, we would not have the time to discuss, because discussing IP address all in all would require at least 2, 3 hours for us to understand the entire thing. But right now, let's just bear with me and understand that this is a single network, and what it defines is like a network in a certain place, maybe not a very exact definition, but bear with me, like I said. Okay, so maybe you have some office and it's a local network that you have connected, and let's say you have some devices like so, and now you want them to be connected to one another. Yeah, you will deploy a switch, and they are connected together. Fine. Okay, let's say you have another, office, and you have a similar structure there, meaning you have devices. You want to connect them together. You will deploy a switch, and you have two separate networks. Okay, maybe a network 1 and maybe a network 2. Fine. Okay, now you want to maybe connect them together. Okay, so what can you do is you can have something called as a router be connected in between them. Now, router is a device that helps connect these two different networks together. That is what a router does. That is what its job. Essentially, therefore, you also call the router as a gateway. Okay, now what is a gateway? Gateway technically means any device, by the way, that helps you connect to a different network. So as you can see, from my left hand side network, it is able to connect me to the right hand side network, and from my right hand side network, it can help me connect with the left hand side network. So this router is a gateway for me to connect to different networks. Even in your case, for example, if you're sitting at home, okay, so you have your home and you have, let's say, your device through which you are connecting right now. Let's say you wanted to connect to this class, okay, that we are having. What you would need is your router at your home, okay, which looks, by the way, something like this. Honestly, this device is much more complicated than what it looks like. I'll discuss this in a while, maybe in like some time. Okay, so basically you will be connecting to your router. So this router is your gateway, and this gateway connects you to the ISP first, okay, and then to the larger internet. Okay, that is how the entire communication actually flows. So your laptop is now connected, or maybe you are connected to your phone, I don't know. But then it is connected to your router at your home. Then it goes to your ISP, to whom, of course, you pay monthly on a monthly basis, probably. And from your ISP, you're connected to the entire internet. That is how this entire interesting thing, basically works. This is kind of an example. So we know the devices now, right? Let's put them up together and let's understand how a network is designed. Okay, so let's say that this part is some office, okay, some office, and we want to design it so. Okay, so what you'll do is, first of all, deploy a switch. To this switch, of course, you have your Windows PC connected, and you have Mac PCs and your Linux PCs. All PCs are connected. Okay, so now these are in a local network. Now you have wireless devices as well. Okay, like you have a, I don't know, maybe like a phone, or maybe a PDA, or maybe like a laptop. But these are wireless devices. Okay, now the wireless devices, of course, cannot be used, cannot be connected to a switch, right? I mean, that's not possible. Okay, because they don't have cables like that. Switch can only allow cables. They have Wi-Fi signals. Okay, now to connect Wi-Fi signals, you need a separate device which is called as a wireless access point. By the way, this wireless access point is the same thing that you use at your homes. Okay, this device that looks something like this in the previous slide that we saw. This actually is a wireless access point. So what is a wireless access point? Basically, it is similar to a switch, but then it is of wireless nature. As simple as that. Okay, so it's like a switch in your local area network, but it helps you connect wirelessly. The other thing is that it also, can you see at the other end, however, a wire is connected to it, meaning it is finally connected to the switch. Okay, the wireless access point is connected finally to the switch. Now, this is what the wireless thing also does, even even at your home, right? For example, you can see the same thing at your home. For example, the ISP's cable is coming into your router, and from your like router, you have wireless signals to which your phones and laptops and like stuff connect. So basically, converting of wired signals into wireless signals is also something that a wireless access point does. You also, of course, have various other things, for example, an IP phone and a voice router. Let's not go into too many details at the moment, but you can have many more devices. Now, all of this devices connected right now with the switch is just the local area network. Okay, or in other words, it's like the LAN, okay, local area network. When I want to reach out to the internet, what I would need is a gateway, right? So this is the gateway. Okay, as we spoke earlier, this is the gateway. Now the gateway will help me connect to the larger internet. Now you see some other things here, by the way. Okay, you see a firewall. Now, where does firewall come into the picture? So basically what happens is the internet is something that you call as the outside network. Why? Because it's outside my office, right? So this place, however, the outside network is always untrusted. Now, why untrusted? Because of course it's a public network, and you have, you may have hackers and stuff, on the internet. On the other side, however, you have your local area network, which is the inside network. Okay, or this network is basically trusted, right? Of course, it is a trusted network. I trust all my devices per se. When you want to connect the outside network to the inside network, I cannot trust the outside network, right? Because like I said, there can be hackers, there can be malicious users, there can be a lot of things. So what I would want to do is connect a very specific device here, which is the firewall. Okay, now what a firewall essentially does, it filters information as it comes inside my network. That is what a firewall essentially does, right? So you need firewalls, and of course, firewall is a whole different thing in itself. This falls under network security. Okay, meaning this is not network engineering per se in the basics. Once you learn network engineering, then you upgrade yourself to network security. And of course, this is just one device here, firewalls. You can have email appliances, you can have web appliances, and like so many things. This is again a simplified uh, like description of what the internet of what the internet like structure looks like when you connect to something. Okay, so you can see that you have your phones and your laptop here, and you can see that it is connected to your wireless access point or your router or your gateway, right? And you can see that it is connecting to your local ISP. Okay, and from your local ISP, it goes to the regional ISP, and if it doesn't find the answer, it goes to the global ISP, right? And that is how it is connecting to some web hosting server that you wanted to connect to. Maybe it is YouTube, right? Entirely how this is how this thing functions. But as you can see, for example, this is the office. Okay, like this is your local network, and this is your office. Certainly, of course, you need network engineers here to manage this thing. You need network engineers here to manage your local ISP. You need network engineers here to manage your regional ISP. And of course, this is an oversimplification. There is a lot of things that a lot of people would have to do to maintain this entire structure. It is not just like network engineers, and like of course there has to be security, there has to be cyber security and whatnot, and all of these things put together make up the entire network. This is how it functions. Okay, so you have a bunch of people working here, some engineers here, and finally, of course, also at the data center, right? So maybe your maybe when you like access some server there, of course, how are you accessing it? Of course, through its data centers, right? Facebook data centers or YouTube data centers. The data center doesn't manage on its own, right? Of course, you again have network engineers there and cloud engineers there and stuff and managing those things. So as you can imagine, this is of course a huge, diverse field with so many things playing out in it. This is a way, this is like the same diagram, although it shows many more details. Okay, like but it is essentially the same thing. Okay, so you see a local area network here, you see a bunch of devices, of course, connected to the switch, and you have a modem, and then it's connected to the routers, and this is the ISP, right? Again, you can see a bunch of devices in your ISP stuff. So you can imagine the number of engineers and the work that goes on the network that you use so often, but you don't think about it, right? That is the larger internet, as you can see, and it is also a bunch of like public devices, routers, and stuff that, of course, again, somebody has to manage. This is some other office at the other site, right? And again, you have those devices, like so on and so forth. Okay, some cloud services that are running, and you can see again, you have switches and routers and email servers, and all these things, servers and stuff that is running. You have an entire domain name structure, which is used to translate names into IP addresses. Okay. So for example, you type google.com. Of course, Google is not the way the system works, right? I mean, it's the name. We need IP addresses. So you need some mapping technology. That mapping technology is the DNS, right? Which basically translates names into IP addresses. So again, this is something that would have, okay, like, so that is what it is. Now, here I would want to specifically specify, uh, I don't know where has the misconception come into picture, that network engineers are some people that, go on connecting cables. Okay. Like, no, that is not what we do. Okay. Uh, what you're talking about is some technician or electrician. Okay. So basically what would happen is the network engineer, of course, underneath him, okay, would have a bunch of people, and one of those things could be some electricians, okay, because see, the network engineer, as a network engineer, for example, me, I will design the network, okay, like I will lay it out on paper. Do you think I'm gonna like take some like hammer and chisel and I don't know whatnot and actually go on like installing cables? Of course, that is not what a network engineer does, okay, that is not what a network administrator does. That is none of our thing. Okay, like we of course will lay out the plan, and of course there will be some electrician, some technician that will like go on and do the cabling business. That is not what you do. Okay, what you would be doing is you would be working on these devices, and of course these devices have their own operating systems, and they need to be managed by putting in commands and those things. Maybe I'll show you an example a little later on. But that is what you do. Okay, like you have these devices, even switches, routers, and like stuff. You have to manage them. Okay, and they have their own operating system. For example, the Cisco iOS, and you put in commands and you put in IP addresses and you make routing protocols work and do all those things, and not some uh, you know uh, technician electrician stuff. I don't know where people have got that idea from, although I'm not very sure. Okay, so uh, before we talk about jobs, if we have the time, what I want to discuss is the certifications part of it. Okay, like in any industry, uh, you can prove yourself worth for the industry. Right now, in this industry, in the networking industry, you can do so with the help of certifications or their trainings. Okay, now let's understand like what is this. And as you can see, I mean, clearly mentioned that this is your leverage. Okay, this is going to be proof. This is going to prove whether you land at the job or not. Now, why do you want to do certifications? One, because you will give a competitive advantage. Okay, now why is this? Okay, now for example, let's say you are studying in some college right now, and as important as college or academic qualifications are, and of course you need to be in a college and you need to be graduated from, of course that is absolutely important. I cannot undermine its capacity. Okay, that is absolutely important. But what happens in colleges is, because you have to focus on a lot of theory and you have to focus on a lot of I mean, of course you cannot just pick up brands and start teaching them. I mean, you're also limited by the system, right? For example, you have Cisco devices. Yeah? I don't see like Cisco devices being taught in colleges. Maybe that's not even possible. I think you can't just pick up a vendor and like device and like start teaching it. You have to be generic in your approach, and that is why colleges can't really teach you on a lot of actual skills. I mean, you have the basics. Probably you probably have heard of networking, maybe in your like courses and stuff. I don't know what is currently that you're learning, but what you actually require in your industry is to be able to work with, let's say, Cisco's switches and Cisco's routers. And like I said, they have their own operating systems, and you need to work with them. You need to be able to put commands in them, and you need to be able to manage the routing protocols and those things. And sadly, of course, this cannot be taught in like schools and colleges. That is like a restriction that we have. Okay. Uh, so where are you going to learn this? Okay. So through trainings, through specific trainings, uh, and its certifications. Okay. So what are certifications? We'll discuss in a while. But when you have these certifications, you gain an advantage. It increases your efficiency. For example, of course, when you're trained on this specific device, now you are no longer sort of a fresher, right? You know how to work with devices. You just have to like crack an interview, okay, some interview, and of course you'll be employed there, and you can work with your skills that you've already learned in the training. Okay. um yeah, of course, it increases your earning potential as soon as you get trained for a certification or you get the certification itself. Okay, either of those things, I will just come to that in a while. It of course increases your pay grade, right? Of course, you will be paid more, right? Of course, that is how it happens. And finally, of course, with those certifications and trainings, you increase your professional credibility, meaning, of course, people know that you're a proficient person, and he or she can deal with whatever the networking industry throws at you. You will perfectly be able to handle those things. So you have your graduation, let's say. Now what you need is only the certification part and the training part. Okay, let's understand more. Now I will talk about the certification thing here, but a very important thing to understand is the certification training is more important than the certification itself. Now what do I mean by that? See, what you can do is, so for example, let's say you have graduated from college. Okay, or maybe you will be graduated from college, and maybe you want to prepare yourself first. Okay, so what you do is, side by side, or maybe after graduation, again that depends on how you want to approach this thing. What you can do is you can opt for a training, okay, like the networking training. Okay, for maybe probably CCNA. I'll discuss more on the CCNA part a little later, but let's say you opt for this training. Okay, whether after graduation or maybe like along with graduation, you want to pursue this course so that after graduation you are already trained. Maybe you want to do that. It's up to you. Now, this training, you have the skills already. Okay, you have the skills already. And like most people, of course, you can go for an interview and you can crack a job and like you have a job. Yeah, right. You're of course getting paid. And now you can look for the certification for which you have already been trained. So now you have the training knowledge, you have the job experience. Okay, and now you can actually go for a certification. It will make it a lot more easier. You're also, of course, certifications also have their cost, right? So you are being paid and by a job, and it's easy to tackle it, right? So many people, of course, do the like the training part first, and they later in life, of course, go for certification whenever they have the time and the means to do so. Okay, so that is essentially where I would want to touch upon the most basic certification that you can do in networking. Okay, now when I say basic, of course, it is not it is not basic in that sense. Of course, it is the associate level certificate from Cisco, and it is a very esteemed certificate. Okay, what this basically means is that you know everything in fundamentals of the networking industry. Okay, and no matter what path you chase later on. Okay, so for example, CCNA is just the beginning. Okay, people, I mean, of course, people work with CCNA and they work with it for their entire lives. Of course, you can also do that, but most people, of course, will go for growth, right? Meaning after CCNA, what else can you do? They will, of course, look for many things. But CCNA is where everything begins. Okay, so CCNA is the absolute fundamental training or the certification that you need to have. Now, fortunately, there are no prerequisites. Okay, absolutely no prerequisites. You can even actually be from a non-technical background. Okay, and people like us, of course, will train you for your job roles for the training part. So absolutely no prerequisites. Of course, if you are from a technical background, I mean, of course, that is a plus, right? Certainly a plus, and that will help you understand things a little better. And probably you also already know some things, and you are already motivated to work in a technical field. Okay, but even if you are from a non-technical field, in fact, we have a lot of students like those and who have made amazing careers now in this industry. You can also be from the non-tech. Anyway, the point is that there are absolutely no prerequisites to chase the networking industry. Anybody can do this. Okay, like even if it at your home, if you have people who unfortunately were not able to take up technical courses and they now feel that they don't want to go with some commerce oriented or art oriented maybe like stuff, they can look into these things. Okay, they can absolutely certainly look into these stuff. Okay, that is possible. So of course you have very large learner profiles. These could be enthusiasts. Okay, people just want to learn about networking. Maybe it could be students like you, maybe even professionals. Okay, so maybe somebody landed a job and maybe they were not very proficient back then. They can of course also go for a CCNA certification and training. Okay, that will improve their skills because if you want to stick in the field, of course you have to always upgrade and you have to be very proficient. Okay, so CCNA currently, so basically, what is CCNA? Okay, let's have a discussion about it. So basically, the entire thing is that Cisco is a very huge player in the networking industry. Okay, for example, you can compare it to like your PC industry. What operating system do you have? Microsoft, right? So Microsoft is a huge player in the PC domain. Everybody knows that. Similarly, in the networking domain, it is Cisco. And Cisco, what they have done is because they have like so many devices, what they've done is they have made certifications. Okay, so when you opt for those certifications, it simply means that you are proficient enough to work with those devices. Okay, that is what the certification essentially is all about. So at the very initial stage, what you have is the CCNA certification. Okay, which is like the certification here, CCNA 200-301, and you have network fundamentals, network access, IP connectivity, IP services, security fundamentals, some basics part of it, and you have automation and programmability. Right now, of course, I know that this will not make a lot of sense to you, but uh, try and understand. Okay, once you of course hit the training part uh, or prepare for the certification, only then, of course, all of this will make a lot of sense. But hear me out and understand the larger story being discussed here. Okay, so initially what you have is CCNA, right? And let's say you want to stick around with maybe you want to stick around with the networking industry. Okay, like the network engineering part of it, the core part of it. What you can then opt for is CCNP. N core. And then what you can do is you can opt for CCNP, NRC. Of course, at every point, the level goes on increasing. When I say level goes on increasing, it is also your pay grade, right? So while you earn a certain amount at CCNA, CCNPs are, you get better positions, better job roles, and of course a huge pay. And later on, of course, you can opt for CCIE. Okay, that's the most prestigious certificate that you can have from Cisco. But let's say if you did not want to go for the like the secure like the networking part, of course you can choose other things. Okay, maybe like after CCNA you want to tackle something in cloud, maybe you want to do something in cyber security. Of course you can also do that, and maybe you want to look into network security. But as you can see, you have to start at CCNA. Okay, this is where the fundamentals are discussed. You can't see like jump to I mean, I know that in the market it is propagated like so, but that is not what happens. You can't really jump into cybersecurity all of a sudden and expect to be uh, a professional in that regard. That is like impossible. Okay, so whatever you do, it starts with CCNA. Of course, you can go with CCNP later on. That is the most like straightforward path. But yes, of course, if you want to look into network security, maybe later on, or cyber security, or even cloud, that is up to you for you to decide. But you have to start somewhere, and that is, it has to be CCNA. It's like the most common thing that you can obviously do. Okay. Now, if you were to go for the actual certification, and of course, like I'm not talking about the training. Okay, the training is something that is conducted by institutes like us, and like for example, I'll be your trainer there. Uh, but if you take the actual examination after it, okay, so that we are talking about this right now. Okay, so in this slide, for example, it has a cost to it. Okay, in some dollars, and of course this keeps on changing, so it's best to and of course the dollar rates and stuff also come into picture. So you'll have to check this Cisco website. Okay, but yeah, it is around this price. Okay, the examination is of 120 minutes, and it tests you on all those things that you have learned in your CCNA course. Okay, and therefore you get certified. Okay, like you get a CCNA certificate, and now you, of course, you're a happy person because you can make a huge name in the industry. Okay, so that is how this happens. But like I said, it is not really I mean, the skills are important. Okay, it is the skills that are important to the training and not the actual certification. For example, what I mean to say is, let's say somebody just memorize things and you have your Cisco certificate, but you don't have the skills. Like, oh, fine. Like, how is that going to help, right? You will not be able to crack interviews and stuff still, even though you have the certification. So the skills part, a good training and the certification, if you have in all, like, yeah, great. Nothing like it. Everything will work great for you. But you have to start. Okay, you have to start at least with the training part first. Now, this is again, these are some numbers to indicate what the salaries are like when you get started just with CCNA. Like you just did CCNA training and you got a job, and there are of course job guarantee like courses as well and like stuff, and you like join, and this is what you can, like the base minimum salary that you can expect. Of course, this will be more depending on. I mean, of course, nobody can actually give a very good value. And in case they do, they are of course lying. I will also not lie to you. Okay, that is not how it works. Whenever you go for an interview, and of course you give an interview, and what you are paid, okay, what you are paid is it depends on a lot of things. Okay, it depends on the organization that you're giving the interview for, your job role, okay, your the profile that you exactly have, the workload that you're going to have, and of course the negotiations that you do, right? If you cannot negotiate the salary well, of course, like how is that going to happen? And how well the interview goes and stuff. A lot many things. So nobody should give you an exact number of, there is no set up standard, like for example by the government, that okay, no, you have to be paid that much. Of course, nothing like the environment matters, the current economy matters, and like a lot of things goes into it. Okay, but yeah, that's the base minimum that you can expect in our country, and of course, you have in different countries a certain salary ranges, and of course, it's not less. Okay, of course, network engineers are one of the most highly paid professionals in the IT industry. Okay, so yes, that is what I wanted to discuss, and of course, it goes on later on. Of course, you can still go on upgrading. Like I said, you can have CCNP skills because it keeps on advancing, right? The the nature of technology is going on increasing. There's always a gap for advanced networking skills. You can keep on upgrading yourself. There can be cloud stuff. Cyber security is a major thing. All of those things. AI and automation is there. Uh, so all of things like go into a lot of things, and uh, you have, if you are trained well and you keep on like upgrading yourself, okay, there is of course uh, a whole world open for you to make a very good career and earn a lot of good packages. Here I would want to end it from my side. I'll hand it over to Kuldeep. I hope you enjoyed this session and it was beneficial, and maybe you learned. I mean, of course, with the given time constraint, there is only limited that I can discuss with you, but I hope it was really beneficial and you learned a lot and you found this interesting. Handing it over to Kuldeep.
Thank you so much, Sohail sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for informative webinar. Now, I would like to invite the head of department, Dr. Rakesh June sir. Please share your feedback of this session.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
On behalf of EC department and entire GITAM fraternity, myself, Dr. Rakesh Jun, HOD EC, would express my gratitude to Mr. Sohail and Mr. Kuldeep from PyNet Lab Gurgaon, particularly on the topic of the computer network, which is, I think, is an very emerging area nowadays for the students of EC department as well as computer science department. Myself is very much happy that you have spared your valuable time for our students, and I hope that we will definitely connect in future as well for these basically strengthening the industry academia relationship, which is very much important nowadays in the future, as we are accredited by NAC A grade and NBA also for our EC department. These are the activities which are essentially required for the students to get their skills up to date. Myself again expressing my thanks, very much thank you sir for your knowledge, imparting the knowledge you have given to the our students. Thank you very much, and again we will meet definitely. And from my side, for students as well, they have enthusiastically participated in the event, and hope we will definitely do the same in the future as well. Thank you sir, thank you very much.
My pleasure, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
I'm so honored. Thank you.
So good afternoon, all of you. Hope my voice is audible. Just write yes on chat window. If I'm audible, just write yes on chat window. Okay, fine. So if I'm talking about like the certification part, those who enrolled in our registration form, so you will receive a certificate by a mail tomorrow. Fine. Or if you have any inquiry regarding to some counseling or related to training, related to networking training, so I am available on I'm sharing my mobile number on chat window. And once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sohail sir, and thank you so much, the head of department of GITAM College. Thank you so much.
Thank you.